Good morning, one and all. Today, in this video, we are going to start Unit 1 of Polity of Class 10 CBSE Power Sharing. In this video, we are going to learn what is meant by power sharing and what are the different forms of power sharing and why is power sharing important in democracy. In this, we are going to take the examples of two countries to understand the power sharing. First of all, what is power sharing? Generally, if we discuss the definition of the power sharing is the division of power between two or more groups is called the power sharing. And to understand this, we are going to take two countries. The first country is the Belgium. If we take the Belgium is a small country in Europe. It shares boundaries with four countries, that is French, Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg. And in area, it is equal to the Indian state of Haryana, and its population is nearly 1 crore. That means a very small country. And when we move on to the ethnic composition of the Belgium, there are two major ethnic communities, that is the French Dutch speaking people and the French speaking people. And if we see the Dutch speaking people are in the majority, that is 59% of the people in the Belgium country speak the Dutch language and they live in the Flemish region. And if we take the French speaking people, they are 14% and they are live in the Wallonian region. Dutch speaking people, Flemish region is marked by the yellow color and Wallonian region is marked by the red color. And the 1% blue lines marked, they speak the German language. But when we go to the capital country of the Belgium, Brussels, the total situation is reversed. There, the French speaking people are in the majority and the Dutch speaking people are minority. 80% of the people speak French in the capital country and only 20% speak the Dutch language. Then the tension rises between the two groups. What is the tension? Really, who are in majority? Who should take the power? Who should rule the country? This is the doubt and the tension between the two communities. But in here, really, who are the majority? Who should take the power? The minority French speaking people are very rich and powerful, but the Dutch speaking people, they got the benefit of the education and economic development much later. This was not agreed by the people of Dutch speaking. So, this is the situation in Belgium. When we move on to the second country, that is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an island nation. It's just a few kilometers off from the southern coast of Tamil Nadu. Its population is same like our Indian state of Haryana, that is about 2 crores with diverse population. Now, moving on to the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka. Here, the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka, in that people speak two languages mainly, that is the Sinhalese language and the Tamil language. Sinhalese speaking people are in the majority, that is 74%, and the Tamil speaking people are in only 18% in the country. And Sinhalese speaking people, most of the Sinhalese speaking people are the Buddhists, and Tamil speaking people is again divided into two subgroups, that is the Sri Lankan Tamils and the Indian Tamils. Sri Lankan Tamils are only 13% and remaining all are the Indian Tamils, and most of the Tamil speaking people are Hindus and Muslims. And remaining 7% speak both the Sinhalese language and Tamil language, and they belong to the Christianity. And now, if we take the communities, there between these two communities also there rise the tension between the two communities. We can clearly see that here the Sinhalese speaking people are in the majority. So the country adopted the majoritarianism. So Sinhalese speaking people took the dominance of power and dominance over the minority, the Tamil speaking people. And in 1950 they announced the Sinhalese language as the official language. And all the government acts and policies were in the favor of these Sinhalese speaking people for getting into the government jobs and also into the education. This led to the majoritarianism. What is meant by majoritarianism? We'll see in the next how the two countries solve the problem. Here, the first country is we'll take Sri Lanka here as the first country. Sri Lanka adopted the majoritarianism. That means a belief that the majority people can rule the country according to their wish and will without taking any considerations and demands and needs of the minority people is called the majoritarianism. What happened after adopting the majoritarianism in Sri Lanka? just. After adopting the majoritarianism, it did not consider the needs and demands of the people of the Tamil speaking. They just asked to recognize the Tamil also as the official language. They also asked for the equal opportunities in education and government jobs, but this was not considered as the request, and their demand is not satisfied. And after that they formed a separate political party in 1980s and started asking for an independent state. This was also not satisfied, so there that increased tension between the two groups led to the distrust, and this distrust led to the civil war, and this led to the civil war led to the destruction, inequality led to the destruction, and thousands of the community people both the community people but thousands of the community, both community, not only the Sinhali speaking people but also Tamil speaking people died in this civil war. This led to the social, political, and economic destruction. Many people have to leave the country for other jobs to the other country, and this situation ended in 2009. So, this is how Sri Lanka solved a problem with a violence. But if we take the country, Belgium country, as an example, it is called as Belgian model of accommodation. Here, after taking into consideration the demands of both the communities, they decided for an equal number of Dutch and French-speaking ministers in the central government. Like that, many powers of the central governments have been given to the state governments also separately. And for this, to solve the problem in the Brussels, a separate government is set up in the Brussels, in which both the Dutch and French-speaking people are also in the equal number, like in the total country. And there is a separate community government which is arranged for the Dutch speaking communities and French speaking communities. So here they gave the two communities the equal opportunities and solved the problem. So they developed a trust. There is no need of the civil war. So they solved their problem very coolly. This became a inspiration to many countries. Then and type of power sharing can be very useful if we adopt this is how we can solve the problem. So this type of Belgian model became inspiration to many countries, so many countries tried to adopt this model. So now we discussed what is the situation, how the power sharing can be done, how the power, if the power sharing is done in this way what happens, and if it is done in that way what happens, we already discussed. Now we'll discuss what are the why the power sharing is important in democracy. What is meant by democracy? Democracy is nothing but people's rule. People will rule means not directly, indirectly through their representatives. The power sharing is important in democracy for two main reasons. That is, the first one is the prudential reasons, and second one is the moral reasons. And first one, prudential reasons, helps to reduce the conflict between the two social groups. If there is a trust between prudential reasons, if the trust is attained between the two communities, there can be no conflict. We can reduce the conflict between the social groups, so that after attaining a trust, there comes the political stability and then economic stability, then the country can be developed. Second one, moral reason, the compulsorily there should be a power division in the democracy to make the people also participate in the decision making. All the people participate in the decision making. That is why the power sharing is important in democracy. And now we shall learn about the different forms of power sharing. If we take the different forms of power sharing, there exist four forms of power sharing in modern democracies. The first one is the horizontal distribution of the power, vertical distribution of powers, division of powers among the different social groups, and the last one is the division of power among political parties, pressure groups, and movements. Power sharing. Why is power sharing formed? It is formed in the opposition to the undivided political power. That means if the political power is vested in the one hands, then the total power is vested in the one hands. Then he can act according to his wish or her wish, like in the Sri Lanka majoritarianism. It is formed in the opposition to the undivided political power. People thought that power should not align in one hand. Before, the people thought that power should be kept in one hand for the quick decision making. But slowly, after seeing the Belgian model of accommodation, they thought that if each and every people participate in the decision making and there is a power sharing, then there will be equality of opportunities not only in the education but also in the economic development. So they learned the importance of power sharing, how important the power sharing can be to the development of the country. So they adopted different forms of power sharing. Now we learn about the four forms of power sharing. The first one is the horizontal distribution of power sharing. What is meant by the horizontal distribution of power sharing? In this horizontal distribution of power sharing, there is a separation of powers among three organs of government. That is, what are the three organs of government? Legislative, executive, and the judiciary. This is called the horizontal distribution of power. And second one is the vertical distribution of power. This is the sharing of power among different levels of government, that is the central level and the state level. And generally there exist two levels, but recently there is another level added to this, the one. And this is also known as the federalism. Vertical distribution of power is also known as federal government. And next one is the community government. This community government is the power sharing among different social groups like religious groups, linguistic groups, etc. If the power is shared among the different religious groups and linguistic groups, then they can form their own community government for their development. And last one is the coalition government. Power sharing between two or more political parties or between the two political pressure groups is known as the commu- coalition government. This is how the power sharing is done in four different ways. So, with this type of power sharing, the people also can participate in the decision making, and each and every person have their own representatives to tell their problems, to solve their problems, to tell their demands and get the problem solved. Because in the majoritarianism, only one person he will be in the government, and he implements the policies according to his will and wish. But in this power sharing model of democracy, the power is shared equally among all the persons, so that all the people can enjoy the equal powers and equal decision making, so the country can enjoy the benefits of development equally. So this power sharing is very important in each and every aspect. Every country need to adopt this model, Belgian model, Belgian model of power sharing, to attain the development of country full-fledgedly. Thank you. Hope you understood the lesson and gained some knowledge. Thank you very much.